What's up, people? Welcome back to Chris Chats Comics. My name is Chris Gonzalez, and this week Ordained came back. Guy Gardner is a prophet now in Green Lantern Corps. A zombie turning good in Bleeding Hearts #2, and part 3 of the Death Spiral crossover event. This time, the Venom issue. Yeah, I'm gonna be discussing it all on the latest episode of Single Issue Sundays. Stay tuned. So Single Issue Sundays is the video series where I recap and discuss my thoughts on the issues that I picked up this past Wednesday on New Comic Book Day, and you can check out my latest video that I dropped for my series New Comic Wednesdays, where I showed off my haul of not just the single issues, but some of the trades that I recently got, and I even included one omnibus this past week, so definitely check it out. But yeah, so let's go ahead. I picked up 4 single issues this week, and it's pretty good variety. So first one I'm going to go over, again, this is Ordained. This is issue #2. And this is from Bad Idea Comics, and it's written by Robert Venditti, Trevor Hairsine, I believe is how you pronounce it. I'm not sure. Let me know, Trevor, if you see this. I apologize if I mispronounced your last name, but he does the artwork. Dave Stewart is on colors. Tonsi Zonjic does the flashback artwork, and again, I apologies for if I mispronounced that. And DC Hopkins is on the letters. So again, Ordained, it's about this priest named Roy Craig. He's giving the last rites to this dying mob leader named, I believe, his name is, I forgot his name, but he's giving this his last rites. Burn, that's his name. Sorry, Burn is the mobster. So Burn thinks he's dying, but he recovers, and then he orders a bounty on the priest. So that's essentially the basic premise of this comic. It's pretty simple, and what the mobster doesn't know is the priest has a ex-military background, so we delve deeper with that. In this particular issue, we go over the backstory of Roy Craig. So, but I first of all, I'm going to be giving some light spoilers, showing some of the artwork. So if you haven't read the issues, definitely pause the video, go back, read the issue. But anyway, so we start off with pretty much the aftermath of issue #1, where the 2 goons, or the 2 henchmen that were sent by Byrne to go assassinate the priest at this church, the priest defended himself and really did damage on these 2 guys. So they rush into the emergency room, and then meanwhile, this detective that approached the priest last issue as well to obtain any information on this particular mob boss, she's at the hospital as well, and she was trying to get more info about the priest. So, and then we move to, again, the artwork by Trevor. Really gritty, fits the tone, and I like how these issues have like a newsprint paper. Feels like an old school comic. But yeah, then we go into the flashback. I guess our priest, Roy Craig, he was a part of a Navy SEALs team. They're on a mission to infiltrate this mansion. Of some criminal, and they got forwarded this information to infiltrate. But anyway, liked the double page spread layouts. I liked how Dave Stewart, his use of blues and blacks to show that it's nighttime, we're in this jungle. but I thought the artwork was really good here. And so yeah, eventually Roy, he hears something and he fires, and he accidentally kills like a housemaid. And this is essentially what sets our protagonist off to becoming a priest. He just feels guilty that he took an innocent life, and yeah, he just feels guilty about it. So I appreciate that Robert Venditti, his writing definitely, you understand why Roy Craig's doing what he's doing. So that's pretty much the flashback sequence. Really enjoyed that. And then cut back to the present. We see that Roy Craig again, he has that military tattoo. He is not to be fucked with. And then we cut back to the mobster. And again, he has it out for the priest. And they go back to the church where Roy Craig, he has to interview. He was called to speak with this cop, and this cop happens to be Dirty. She's on the mobster's payroll, so I'm essentially trying to get our guy killed, but before she can do anything else, some other cop comes in. His name is Al Plakovic, I think. And him and Roy, they have a past history with each other. So they go on this ride, and they're just having a heart-to-heart conversation. And Father Roy, he's asking Al he asked him why he hasn't been going to church. And I just like their conversation. This character Al, he's not in the issue too long, but through this conversation with Father Roy, you can really Robert Venditti's writing definitely conveyed that there's some kinship between the two. And apparently Al, he is also on the mobster's payroll because he lures Father Roy to a trap. And this is where it's a small critique, even though I understand why. The pacing feels a little rushed. Al's turn, to regret his ways of of potentially betraying Father Roy was kind of fast to me, but with a 4-issue series, you only got, or 3 to 4 issue series, it's kind of hard to let these moments sink in. But yeah, anyway, then it leads to a pretty dope action sequence. I really liked the artwork during this sequence. It's all surrounding this car. Al, he runs over a couple of the goons, but then he gets shot. And then it turns to Roy, defending himself in this besides this car. So I thought this was a pretty exhilarating sequence. Again, Trevor, he draws action really well, and I like the panel layouts. You feel like the tension's built up really well. So yeah, essentially, our priest, he's trying not to kill if he doesn't have to, and he incapacitates the remaining goons. But you really do think that he might go over the edge and kill, but no. That previous moment of him killing that lady definitely had an effect on him, and he doesn't want to kill if he doesn't have to. So again, a really simple premise, but it works. So again, and then we cut back to the detective. She's still trying to get more information about Father Roy because she is interrogating the Burns goons. And then cut to the mobster, and he essentially calls in another assassin to go after the priest, and that's pretty much it. And then, and the assassin, he's called the Machine. He's like, call the Machine. So, and that's where issue ends, and then we get a preview of the Zero issue, where we're essentially going to be getting an issue of the assassin going after Father Roy, his backstory. So that's interesting. Anyway, I thought Ordained was a really fun time. Definitely John Wick meets Daredevil, kind of, with the religious elements. But I thought this was another great, fun issue of Ordained. And so can't wait to read the next one. So next issue, we got Green Lantern Corps, and this is issue number 14. This is written by Morgan Hampton. The pencils are done by Fernando Passarin. Inks are done by Claire Alberts. Colors are by Arif Baranto. And the letters are by Dave Sharp. So, again, this is the aftermath of DCKO after fighting in the DCKO tournaments. Guy Gardner has received some additional powers through the alpha energy that was dispersed, and I guess anybody who competed in that tournament received some of this energy, and they're receiving new powers, I guess. We'll see if they actually stick with that. But anyway, we cut to Oa and Guy. He, at the end of the last issue, he's seeing the emotional entities. They had reincarnated, and they're like projecting themselves into his mind, and only he can see it. So all of the Lantern Corps that are living on Oa, they essentially, some are worshiping Guy Gardner because he's the only one that can see these entities. And I feel like Morgan Hansen, he really gets Guy Gardner's sarcastic humor down pretty well. And we got the return of the bowl cut, the famous Guy Gardner bowl cut. It's back. So it's a time jump, definitely, from the previous issue. So yeah, he's seeing the entities. So because he's the only one seeing these entities, Jessica Cruz, again, she's still the Green Lantern Corps leader. She's trying to get Guy Gardner to essentially assemble a team to, get to gather all the emotional entities and bring them to Oa. And then the subplot, we cut back with John Stewart, him and his girlfriend Katma, I believe is her name. Yeah, Katma. They're having some kind of issues with their relationship, and John Stewart's trying to see what he could do to make her feel better, and she tells him, let's go to my home planet, and it's Kurigar, I believe. It's where Sinestro's from. But I just thought, again, the humor was done really well in this issue. I definitely appreciated that. Morgan is definitely getting better as the issues are going on. His writing's getting better, in my opinion. And I really enjoyed the artwork. The artwork's really detailed by Passarin, and I really enjoy Albert's line work. So they're definitely a great team. And so, again, you can see the emotional entities bugging Guy Gardner. So Guy Gardner, he's just trying to get these visions out of his head, so he'll do anything. Then meanwhile, John Stewart and Katma, they go to Kurigar, I believe it's Kurigar. Yeah, Kurigar City. So they go to this, I guess, cultural fighting competition, and it's called the Bakra. It's called Bakra. So it's this competition where they each fight until one submits, And the winner of the bouts gets to pick their next opponent, but we had one who volunteered, and it's this character named Soranik Natsu, and she is apparently the daughter of Sinestro, and she's a former Green Lantern and Yellow Lantern. Again, I'm not too familiar with the lore, so please forgive me for my ignorance. But yeah, back on Oa again. They assemble a team where they're going to assemble a team to go to this forbidden sector that's in Manhunter territory, because one of the entities keeps telling Guy Gardner these numbers. It's like 3601. So they go to that sector and they assemble a team of Razor from the Red Lanterns, Aya, Larfleeze from the Orange Lanterns, this guy from the Indigo Tribe, Joe Mullen, Ellie, I believe her name is Ellie Stewart, the construct projection of John Stewart's sister. She's representing the Blue Lanterns. We got Ira, aka Fatality. She is I believe she's in the Indigo Tribe as well. And we got Sinestro, of course, representing the Yellow Lanterns. So they're assembling a team. They're going to this forbidden sector, and then cut back to John Stewart and his subplot. And I'm finding his subplot pretty interesting. So John Stewart senses that there is an emotional entity on Kuagar, and it looks like Parallax has possessed Sonorik or whoever. But I thought the lettering by Dave Stewart was pretty cool once Parallax is revealed to be possessing this girl. So I like how the lettering's done here. So shout out to Dave Sharp. And then at the end, John Stewart offers himself to be possessed so he can take Parallax back to Oa. And this is the last image of the issue, and I thought that was a cool spread page. So definitely a really good issue of Green Lantern Corps. I feel like Morgan Hampton's definitely stepping up his game, and I enjoy when the regular series artists are drawing the interiors. So really liked Green Lantern Corps issue number 14. Definitely recommend. And next issue is Bleeding Hearts, and this is issue number 2. This is written by Dennis Camp, and it's drawn by Stefan Morian. Colors are by Matt Hollingsworth, and the letters are by Hassan Otsmane Elhal. And this issue essentially goes over the backstory of the woman and her daughter that was introduced in the last issue briefly at the beginning, and then at the end as well, when our main protagonist Poke and his friend Mush were digging through the suburbs, through this old house. And since Poke, his heart is beating again, so he's developing feelings about humanity, and he's just questioning his very nature of existence. So he comes across this mother and her child, but in this issue, it goes over the backstory of the mother and child. But we first, in the beginning, Poke smacks the shit out of this girl, and I just thought that was really funny. And then it goes through flashback sequences of how, when we don't have her name yet, but she's referred to as Mama. So when Mama gives birth to her daughter, and her daughter name is Rabbit, and this is Solomon, so her former lover. We find out Solomon does die, and then so I just thought this was drawn really well. So while Mama is knocked out, she's hallucinating that Solomon is carrying her, but it's actually Poke carrying her. And I like how while she's being carried, again, she's just hallucinating, and she's having these weird visions of her late husband, and also she's talking about smelling death because Poke is carrying her. So I just thought the writing was done really well, and the artwork was just really creative, and it was easy to follow. And it's just essentially, again, going over how the mother and her daughter are surviving in this apocalyptic world with zombies. And I thought it was pretty touching. I felt like we got a good sense of what's, important to Mama. Of course, it's going to be her daughter. And there was a slight critique that I had. I feel like we're never shown the father's demise. Maybe that's not the point of their history, but I feel like we should have dove deeper into that. It kind of felt like the pacing of this kind of felt rushed, but I still thought it was done pretty well. So they're in this school. Mama and Rabbit, the daughter, they wake up in the middle of the school. They're wondering how they got there, and they start wandering around and trying to figure out what's going on. And Rabbit's the daughter. She's just very innocent in this world that's so bleak. She still believes in the good in everything. So Mama, she's, a little bit more cynical and pessimistic, but she recognizes that her daughter sees the world in a more optimistic way. So I thought that was conveyed pretty well by Dennis Camp. And then we get Poke here carrying stuff and get this emotional backstory moment where Rabbit, she's looking for her stuffed rabbit animal that her father made, and just has some flashback scenes of how the rabbit, is sort of the last bit of, connection she has with her late father. So I thought, again, really done well, and it holds this rabbit, holds a lot of sentimental value. And all of a sudden, and there's always, keeps cutting back to Poke just walking around and trying to, find the humans that he saved. And then I like this part where they finally all come together, and by the ends, and rightly so, Mama's freaking out. She's worried for her daughter that she's gonna be eaten, but Poke gives Rabbit her stuffed animal back, and just thought, I like the art style, definitely. Even though this world is set in a bleak dystopian where zombies have taken over, there's a lot of hope and optimism within this book. So I really appreciate that, and the cartoony nature of the artwork definitely reflects that. So, and we find out that this zombie might be good. So that's where it ends. Really emotional and just a touching issue of Bleeding Hearts #2. I'm definitely excited for the third issue. And finally, the last issue I'm going to be going over is from Marvel, and it's part 3 of the Death Spiral crossover event with Amazing Spider-Man, and that's Venom. This is issue number 255. This is written by Al Ewing, and the artwork is done by Carlos Gomez. I think he does the pencil and the inks, and Frank Dermata is the colorist, and Clayton Cowles is the letterer. So where we last left off, Torment, this serial killer who's killing family members of Peter Parker, Mary Jane, and Eddie Brock. He's killing all the a lot of their family members, trying to essentially kill the Peter, Eddie, and Mary Jane. So he has killed Shocker, taken Shocker's gauntlets, and now Eddie Brock is looking into Torment and why Torment's doing what he's doing. And meanwhile, Carnage, the Carnage symbiote that Eddie is bonded to, has been feeding Torment information. And Eddie, unbeknownst to Eddie. So I like the artwork, though. This, again, Joe Kelly. I haven't been reading the Al Ewing's Venom run. Again, I've been very vocal, which I don't like Mary Jane being the host of Venom. And I just feel like they're making Venom more goofier and goofier as time goes on, and I just don't like that version of Venom. But I'm going to take it for what it is, and this was an okay issue. I still don't like the goofy moments. I feel like both Venom and Carnage are being a little too goofy for my taste. But I like the artwork. But Venom, Eddie's getting, annoyed with the Carnage. And meanwhile, Spider-Man and Venom, they go to the bar with No Name, and they ask for Boomerang's help because Boomerang was friends with Shocker. So Spider-Man and Venom, again, they're also doing their own investigation in these deaths. And so Boomerang, I thought this was a pretty humorous moment. Again, the artwork's pretty good. I like Carlos Gomez's design for Spider-Man. Reminded me of Marco Cicchetto's design, but I did not like Tombstone's design. I thought the face looked kind of weird, but Boomerang calls in Tombstone, who's his boss. And then so Tombstone gives Venom and Spider-Man information regarding Shocker's death. And meanwhile, I thought this, again, a little pacing issue, but Eddie's doing his own research, looking into the deaths and how they tie in with one another, and he figures out that Torment is looking to kill him by going after his family members. Oh, and also, I didn't show in the beginning, it starts with Eddie Brock's dad, actually. So this is actually the very beginning. Starts with Eddie Brock's dad, and he gets greeted by somebody. We'll find out who, but back to Carnage. But Eddie figures out that Carnage has been feeding Torment's information, and he realizes that Eddie's father, is going to be killed next. So Carnage races towards Eddie's father's place, and then meanwhile, Venom and Spider-Man are tracking down Shocker's gauntlets because they presumed that Carnage had killed Shocker and taken the gauntlets, but they actually see that Carnage just so happens to be swinging by, and Venom, and again, they don't know Eddie Brock is Carnage at this point. So I thought that was pretty good. Again, the artwork was the best part, in my opinion. The story's kind of so-so, but they fight for a little bit. And again, I just don't like, but Eddie, Carnage, aka Eddie Brock, they revealed that they're bonded together. Everybody's surprised, but by the end, it's too late. Eddie gets home, and yeah, at the end, I did like this image though. This was pretty dope. Torment with Shocker's gauntlets in this fucking sick ass chain has killed Eddie's dad. So I just really liked. It was an okay issue, but I did enjoy the ending. I thought that image was pretty badass. Not gonna lie. So yeah, that was it. I thought this was an okay issue of Venom. Again, the story is so-so. A lot of plot holes and conveniences, and the pacing is just a little off. But I'm still finding the main villain intriguing, and I want to know why. What's motivating him to kill the family members of Peter, Eddie, and Mary Jane, and like, who is he? Is it somebody we know? Is it somebody brand new? But yeah, that was Venom issue number 255. And yeah, that was it this week. So thank you again for watching this video. Smash that like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And yeah, that was it for this latest episode of Single Issue Sundays. And just stay tuned for this upcoming Tuesday. I will be dropping 2 episodes of Trade Talk Tuesdays. Once again, one highlighting Absolute Superman Volume 2, and the next one highlighting the Tin Can Society from Image Comics. So be on the lookout for that. But anyway, my name is Chris Gonzalez. This is Chris Chats Comics, and I'm out.